my book recommendations for people who are looking to get back into reading. Book talk in and of itself can be very overwhelming. It can kind of be a little overwhelming to get started on reading, especially if you haven't picked up a book in a while. You just don't know what your taste is like yet. Overall, I think my best recommendation would be to just pick up a book. Do a Google search, find the most popular book talk books, and pick up one. But if you're still here looking for specific beginner book recommendations, here are some of mine. First, we have the Inheritance Game series. This is YA mystery that is super fast paced. Jennifer Lynn Barnes really lays it all out for you, so you don't have to kind of like grab bits and pieces here and there and like be able to remember all these things, because if you're first getting into reading, you might struggle with like being able to make connections between like the beginnings and the ends of books. And so a book where the author really just does a great job of showing how everything flows together is a really great option. Then we have Carri So is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is a part of her very famous historical romance series that she had been writing, and it is my favorite book that I've ever read by her. Yes, the main character is a tennis player, but you're not gonna be confused if you don't already know how to play tennis. I don't know how to play tennis, and this is my favorite book that I've read by her. But especially when you're first getting into reading, I feel like it's important to not just go straight in on all of the super heavy, super confusing books. And I think that Carri So is a great option when you're starting reading. Then we have When in Rome by Sarah Adams, which is the first book in her interconnected small town romance series. This book follows a super stressed out pop star who runs away from her life and ends up breaking down in front of the house of the guy who owns the pie shop in his teeny tiny little town. So it's very Hallmark, very cheesy, but the romance is super sweet and it is a bit of a shorter read, which can sometimes be easier when you're a newer reader. Then we have We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. This one, it's another shorter book, so something a little bit more palatable for newer readers, but it's extremely fast paced, and the twist at the end had my jaw on the floor in public. I was at the airport and I was just baffled, and I'm sure everyone around me thought I was nuts. But this book reads more like a general fiction, which can be easier because there's not any world building and confusing stuff like that. You don't really have to try to grasp at existing character relationships because the author really lays it all right out there in front of you. Then we have The Hunger Games, because I feel like everyone already knows what happens in the Hunger Games book. I feel like that can sometimes make it easier to read through the books and for you to get hooked into the series faster and easier. And so I feel like that is a really good intro, especially if you're looking to get into like more fantasy books. A dystopian read is definitely a great way to enter into that genre.